and welcome back to the Constitution Line by Line. I'm Paul Fabrizio.
And I'm Don Frazier. I'm a professor of history. You're a professor of political science. Betwixt the two of us, we have civic education covered.
All right. So we're going through the Constitution line by line. We are on Article 2, which is about the chief executive.
Yes.
Section 1, Clause 2.
A.
That's right. This is a long clause.
That's right. Better grip on to something, man.
Yes. Or take some NoDoz or something like that, an extra jolt of some monster drink. All right. Are we ready?
Ready.
Each state shall appoint, in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct, a number of electors, equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress, but no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed an elector.
So just common folk.
I'm sorry, what?
You know, not a congressman can't be an elector. It's just common folk.
It's just common folk.
That's right.
Yeah,
sort of.
Often, I mean, how it's evolved to,
yes,
in terms of who the electors are today, is that they're people who are going to vote for the presidential candidate. You don't want unfaithful electors.
Correct.
So a presidential candidate's campaign will appoint electors in a state who they're pretty confident are going to vote for that candidate.
Sure.
So they're going to choose the governor, if that's in the right party, state representatives, party activists.
So those guys are all the electors.
Those guys are all the electors.
They're not common folk at all.
They're not common folk at all. They're political animals. And this is, for many of them, the highlight of their voluntary career. You know, here's their chance. They've been working in politics for a long time. You get to go down to the state capitol and vote for so-and-so if they win the state.
Man, this seems like
cool.
It's retained. Yeah, and it seems like it's a vestige of retaining some sort of state influence.
Oh, God. Yes, of course it is.
All right.
This is a theme that he's going to return to all the time, and
am.
I'm going to return to my own themes, too.
That's right.
Yes. So what we've got is each state gets to make their own determination of how they want to actually do this whole thing. So 2 states,
Interesting.
Nebraska and Maine,
Yes.
do not have a winner-take-all electoral college system.
So this is all part of the Electoral College.
We're talking about the Electoral College. I'm sorry, we should have said that at the beginning.
Yeah,
This is
what?
the first step of the Electoral College.
We're talking about the Electoral College.
We're talking about the Electoral College. And so there's the creation of electors, and each state then gets to determine how the popular vote is then funneled into the Electoral College.
Okay.
And for 48 states, it is decided by winner-take-all system. So if you win by 1 vote over your opponent, you get all the state's Electoral College votes.
Now, there's a movement afoot currently to try to get a number of states to act cooperatively to where whoever wins the popular vote gets all the electoral votes. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
How's that different?
Okay, what we need to deal with is there has been, I believe, 5 elections in American history, including 2 in the last 20 years,
Yes.
where the popular vote winner did not get the majority of the Electoral College vote. So the election of 2000 and 2016,
Correct.
that took place. So some people are saying we need to prohibit that from happening by requiring states to elect electors who would then pledge to vote for the popular vote winner.
National
nationwide.
national popular vote winner, not the
the
popular
state
vote winner.
Right.
So essentially just surrender their state sovereignty.
Exactly. And I would argue that that would probably be unconstitutional.
Yeah.
If that were to develop and become a real movement, that would probably be unconstitutional.
Well, that feeds into the other strong movement of let's just do away with the Electoral College.
Right. And we need to point out that it's the next section, the next thing we're going to tape in just a minute, where the Electoral College is all defined in the Constitution. But that was thrown out and replaced by the 12th Amendment.
Spoiler alert.
So, and it's the 12th Amendment really where we have the modern Electoral College, and that has caused problems, depending on your perspective,
Sure.
from the very beginning. But there's been several cases where the popular vote winner has lost.
So the Electoral College, let me get this straight. The Electoral College is in the original Constitution,
Yes.
but then it was modified by an amendment,
Right.
and now people don't like how that's working.
Correct.
Some people don't.
Some people don't like how that's working. And that has been a theme of politics for a very, very long time.
The Electoral College.
The Electoral College. So some states have attempted to work around that. And as I said, 2 states, Maine and Nebraska, do not award a winner, the Electoral College votes in a winner-take-all system.
Yeah.
They're divided. They divided their state into the congressional districts. And so if you win the congressional district, you get the Electoral College. You get an Electoral College vote from that congressional district.
So why do it this way?
Why do what?
Why elect the president this way instead of just, hey, one person, one vote, stuff the ballot box, let dead people vote,
Okay, well,
let illegals vote, let Canadians vote?
let Don Frazier vote.
I'm leading the witness.
There's issues. Do we want to go there?
Yeah.
We have to deal, and this is really hard, I think, for modern ears, but we have to deal with the fact that key framers of the Constitution did not trust the popular will.
They did not. And they didn't even go to Walmart. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
They just walked along the docks of 1790s Baltimore and said,
Ooh.
hey, I'm not sure I trust these people.
That's right. So, we need to look at the fact that they restricted the suffrage to white male property owners, basically.
Well, not property owners. I mean, they'd like to have had property owners, but that didn't fly, did it?
Well, they had poll taxes, and they had various taxes that you had to pay.
Okay.
So that really limited who could vote.
Correct.
And so ever since then, we've been in a fight between that original idea and now, well, other people should be included in the citizenry, and therefore they should also have
We should expand the enfranchisement.
You better believe it. That's been a continuous theme of American
Andrew
history.
Jackson was the one that really unleashed that.
Yeah. Yeah. Look what happened to the White House on his inauguration.
Yeah,
day.
no, fooling through a kegger and finally had to escape out the back door. Yeah.
Mud all over the furniture and
Yeah,
everything.
people crawling in and out of windows.
Yeah. So first, the framers had to deal with who got who could participate in the election.
Yeah.
In other words, by limiting who could vote. And then only the House of Representatives was voted directly by the people. The Senate, as you love to say, was not. It was elected by the state legislatures. So therefore, in keeping with that, the president was elected by, in essence, sober-minded people who would have the interests of the state and the country at heart when they chose the presidential candidate. And they would be informed in their decision by the popular vote.
So easier for oligarchs, but not as easy for demagogues.
Okay, you've lost me totally.
Well, I mean, if you're choking down who can vote,
right,
then you're really talking about a slice of a slice getting involved in the presidential election. Whereas folks that want it to be just thrown open to the popular vote would rather, to me, that is the danger of the mob. And that seems to be the two ends of this argument. Do you want sober-minded people that have thought about this a lot voting, or do you want people that are impressed by a candidate who can skateboard and does a live Facebook feed of his haircut because he's good looking and smooth, voted into office?
You're making some comment there?
Well, not at all. I'm just trying to think of
right. I mean,
but that's how come you get old guys in gray suits and ties a lot of times, as opposed to
that's
professional wrestlers or whatever.
And we've elected all of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really, the framers decided this question decisively in the favor of a limited electorate.
Yeah.
And there has been a tug of war ever since then. Because should important decisions like that only be limited to a small group of people, or should it be open to more? And when you open it to more, well, what's the danger of that?
What's the ripple effect?
And could you get people who are unqualified for the office?
Well, there's a lot of talk about that going on right now.
There is, and we got that through the Electoral College.
And we got that through the Electoral College, not the popular vote.
Right. So what does that say? I mean, it really comes down to what is your vision of the United States?
And how much do you trust your fellow Americans? All of your fellow Americans. All of them.
You know, there's
the guys in line with you at the DMV. Not just the people that you're drinking coffee with at Dairy Queen.
That's right.
I'm talking about all of them.
Right. Should they have a say? And, you know, there's this movement. Both parties participate in, you know, get out the vote, everybody get out the vote. But both parties actually focus on getting out their vote.
Correct.
They don't want the other party's vote to come out.
Correct.
But the net effect of that, if both parties were successful in getting out their vote, we would have a lot more people voting. And do we want to?
Shouldn't property owners have a little more stroke in all this?
Why?
Well, I'm asking. You say no.
I say no. Why should property owners have any more say in it than people who are not property owners?
Because they have an economic stake in it.
And people who rent don't have an economic stake in it?
Maybe. I don't know.
But
they're transitory. For instance, city council elections here in town.
Right. Beautiful Abilene, Texas.
Beautiful Abilene, Texas. 120,000 folks.
Right. And in the last election, there was 6,700 people who voted.
Correct. So, I'm thinking about the college population here.
Okay.
Should college students register vote in Abilene affect city council elections in Abilene, knowing that they're leaving in 4 years? That's what I mean by...
Right. And, I mean, at the same time, we have 2 prisons here.
Yeah.
Should those people have the right to vote too? I mean, think about that. There's a couple thousand people out there.
That's true.
They could sway an election if we let them vote.
Yeah.
So this is what everybody confronts. What we do here in Abilene, like in any other place, is we allow those students, if they want to go through the trouble of registering.
Which, by and large, they don't because they're 18 years old.
Right. But they're allowed to participate if they want to. Every now and then you see candidates who say, I'm going to get that college vote, and they never are heard from again because it's a hard vote to get. So you give them the opportunity, and if they don't take advantage of it,
it's on them.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah, okay.
So, and who in the end votes? Typically, and it's not just here in Abilene, it's all over the whole country. The older you are, the more likely you are to vote. The more educated you are, the more likely you are to vote.
And the more educated you are and the older you are, the more likely you are to be a property owner.
Okay.
So maybe this works itself out.
You get what you want without actually asking for it.
Interesting.
And also, the more money you have, the more likely you are to vote too.
Again.
So,
property owner.
Do we have a situation where we are having our electorate composed largely of a slice of the population, and they're making decisions for everybody else? And the answer is yes, we do.
But it works out that way naturally.
In the end, you know, the argument is, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Is that the fault of the property owners? Is it the fault of the wealthy? Or is it the fault of those who don't vote? I mean, young people don't vote.
The decision is open to every freeborn American.
Right. They can register or not. Now, you know, some are saying that there's voter suppression efforts. There's efforts to actively prevent people from voting. The reality is if you want to vote, you can vote.
Correct.
And states give you opportunities to do so. It requires effort on your part.
Effort is the big E in this.
And that is where a lot of people simply stumble and fall. They're unable or unwilling to make that effort. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
How easy do you make the franchise?
You can't you can't solve a bunch of those issues.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
So that's our line. That's part A of the clause.
Yes, part A of the clause. So we're creating the electoral system, and what we've just done is we've gone to really the core debate that took place with the framers
About this very issue.
about this very issue.
And how come we came up with this solution?
Yeah, and this solution, by the way, and we'll get into it later on, is complicated.
All right, so that's our
Some
line.
would say crazy.
We will pick up with the second part of this clause with a surprise ending in the next episode.